Hey guys, it's Courtney Carson from Cosmic Clarity Astrology, and I'm here today to discuss the 2026 forecast for Leo rising and sun. You could also watch this for other planets that you have in Leo, so feel free to tune in for that. But think about it specifically around what that planet is in charge of in your chart because it won't apply to everything, right? It'll only apply to what is Leo dominant. So let's go ahead and dive in. So we're going to start off with your theme of the year. And the theme card that I got is Ladybug, Fortune, Gratification, and Wishes. So you guys are going to have a luckier year. If there's something that has been maybe frustrating you, not moving forward, not progressing, or if you've wanted to hit a certain milestone in your life, or you want to make more money, get pregnant, move, have healing within your body or within your family, this Ladybug card is speaking of your wishes coming true. So if there's some area that's been challenged, stuck, stagnant, this Ladybug card to me indicates that that is going to change. And that makes a lot of sense since Jupiter is moving into your sign on June 30th. You are going to be entering into a period of time that is more prosperous, that opens up more abundance and opportunities because that's what Jupiter does. It helps us grow. The other themes for the year that you have are I am creator and harmony. So the I am creator card, I think this is really going to pop off when Jupiter enters Leo this summer. This really feels like you guys entering into a phase of being very creative. Leo is already creative, so when Jupiter enters into your sign, it makes this kind of genesis of energy. So everything spurs from a well that Jupiter provides for, if that makes sense. So I can see you guys just having nonstop ideas, things flowing, things feeling again abundant, especially just in terms of the amount of things that you're working on. So, and if you have existing problems, you could come up with really creative solutions. If you're an artist, a musician, anything like that, you can make some of your best work this year and really until Jupiter leaves Leo, which would be next summer 2027. So very, very prominent time to work on your creations. We also have the Harmony card, and this really to me speaks to you being at one more with your environment. So if some of you guys have been wanting to get outdoors more, if you've been wanting to connect more with the physical environment that you live in, maybe this is something about your home or the people within your home as well, like the people that you surround yourself with, the energy that you have. I see you being more in harmony with your day-to-day life. So this could look like spending more time outdoors, spending more time meditating, enjoying the people that you're spending your time with more, feeling more connected to your city or place of origin, or again, something about your physical home and your physical space. I'm definitely getting a lot of like tangible things that you are in harmony with. So if you have felt disconnected from your physical body, again, your home environment, your food, if you haven't been sleeping well, if you've been stressed or just like too much in your head, I see this Harmony card as you guys coming back into the body, coming back into your connection to spirit, your connection to why you're doing things. I can see you more embodied, more almost like you're more alive this year. Not that you are less alive other years, but just that you're more present in your life and it makes you feel like you are actually living more, or maybe you have more time or more fulfillment in what you're doing because your presence is greater and your connection to the present moment and what you're doing in that moment is greater. So it allows you to really soak it all up and enjoy it for what it is. So let's go ahead and dive into this by quarter. I broke things down into each quarter because I find that that's helpful for kind of thematic purposes. We have just a few major transits that I've pulled out for you. So we're starting off with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, which is happening at 0 degrees of Aries on February 20th. So February 20th, Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries is in your 9th house. So whenever we have a Saturn-Neptune conjunction, there's typically going to be some kind of reset in that area of our life. And it's interesting because this placement by itself, just these planets together by itself, can already indicate that there is a like shift in beliefs. So like let's say for example you've always been really Christian, maybe something happens in your life like a loved one dies or something changes in your world, and then you start to question your belief systems. Or maybe the opposite would be true, like maybe you were not religious, which you probably wouldn't watch this, right, if you were not religious at all or spiritual at all. But anyway, if maybe you just had a come to Jesus moment or whatever. So there can be these like major pivots in our life that sets us on a new path to believe something different about the world, and our perception changes. So that's really typical of a Saturn Neptune conjunction in general, but it's also occurring in your ninth house of belief systems. So this to me feels really potent for you guys, that there is some kind of concept that you have or way of interacting with something that is going to really do a complete 180. This could even be that you engage differently in your spiritual practices. This could be that you decide that you want to write a book or move abroad or travel. Those are kind of typical ninth house things, but often there will be something more existential that is behind the behavior. So if you do move abroad, if you do write a book, what is the existential internal shift that is happening that prompts that? So maybe you suddenly realize, like I did last year, oh, this thing isn't going to happen. Time is running out. I need to be more engaged with life. I need to be more present with life. Now is my time to grow in this way. I have to try. It could also test your faith in some way. Saturn Neptune in the ninth may put you through some kind of crisis that makes you wonder, okay, what do I really think then once this happens? And that's why I kind of mentioned, like, you lose a family member and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, do I believe in God? Do I believe in the afterlife? Or again, the opposite. Maybe you weren't religious or spiritual and then all of a sudden you do believe. So that's kind of like the most intense example that I could really think of. It doesn't even have to be that bad, right? But if you have planets at 0 degrees of the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Capricorn, or Libra, then you are more likely to experience some greater changes, some more pronounced changes, things that are really obvious. So I did pull the 10 of Swords for what is happening for you this quarter. I don't want to get into the cards yet because there are other transits I want to mention, but this is the only one I'll mention. This to me, this is speaking of some kind of ending. It also speaks of betrayal or wound or recovery. So it's also possible that there is something that, like a kind of, not a tower moment because this isn't the tower card, but there is something with Saturn Neptune that is definitively ending. And again, there could be a crisis around that. Like, okay, I've lived all of my life in this house with my parents and now school's ending and I'm graduating or whatever. And now I have to figure out what I want to do. So it's like, I see you guys kind of entering this new chapter where something is definitively closed, or something has been taken away from you that you once identified with and saw yourself, doing or whatever. And now you have to find I don't know. It's like starting a new chapter, finding a new paradigm, like operating within a new paradigm is what I'm trying to say. So going to college or being an adult, that would be a totally new paradigm for somebody who's in high school. That's not a good example in the sense that you guys are all older than that, I'm sure, but there might be something there that mirrors what you're experiencing, where again, a chapter's closing, another's beginning, and you're like, who am I in this new chapter? Or again, something could be taken away, or there could be some kind of betrayal or wounding that happens. And then you're like, oh, I always believed in the goodness of people, or I always believed in that everything would work out. And I always believed this would be easy and this would happen in this way. And then when it doesn't, or something happens that makes you question that, then you're like, well, what do I believe? And you might have to get more nuanced and realistic and granular and seeing the gray rather than just having maybe a super optimistic perspective on things, right? It's like, well, optimism I think is good, and that can often be Neptune. We can idealize, we can create the best situation in our head. But with Saturn there's a grounding influence, there's a reality influence, there's a respect of the past and what has happened. So you guys might be having to kind of manage expectations, or again, see something through that nuanced gray lens where you can still hold a hope and an ideal, but also a sense of like reality as well. So anyway, I hope that this is making sense. Something may prove like you guys might be asked to go on some kind of new journey, because the ninth house has the energy of like a journey or a voyage, almost like a pilgrimage. And Saturn, Neptune as 0 Aries also feels like that. There's something of conviction, of meaning that drives this person to go on this pilgrimage. There's a spiritual calling. There's a complete reset in beliefs where you're discovering who you are, what you stand for, why you're doing something, who you're helping, what the purpose is of this life. So I can kind of see that as well, this like voyage that you guys might go on almost with this kind of transit. And it's going to take years to unfold. It's not like it has to happen all in February, but it's going to kick off the events that will spur this kind of growth direction for you guys, and a new paradigm, a new chapter that may potentially be catalyzed by a somewhat challenging event, but it doesn't have to be. It could also be inspiring, and it's going to kind of depend on your personal chart. So let's look at the eclipse that's happening a few days before this, because that also adds additional clarity into this. So we have an eclipse at 28 degrees of Aquarius, which is in your 7th house. So in particular, one of the things that might be shifting for you guys is your perspective on relationships, your perspective on people. So that existential crisis and those beliefs and the voyage and the growth and all those things that I've been talking about may really be funneled into your commitments with people, your contracts with people or with companies, your relationships with them, your marriage with them, anything like that that involves one other person that you are really close with. So maybe yeah. So anyway, I'm going to let you kind of think of examples for that, but the general idea here is that the way that you approach relationships, you might start to realize that people, or the way that you saw people, or the way you approach people, or what you wanted out of people may change. And this could also be speaking, sometimes eclipses in our 7th can also be speaking to changes happening to the people in our life. So if you have, especially if you have an Aquarius in your life who has the sun or something at 28 degrees, then this could be speaking about this eclipse affecting them personally. And then how does that then shift your beliefs to see someone in your life go through something? How does that shift your paradigm, your reality? So there's something like that that could go on as well. And again, not every eclipse, not every transit is going to be so significant. It really depends on your personal chart. So once you start to really learn astrology, which I do teach astrology if you're ever interested. I do have a cohort running right now, but I'll run another one in 2026. But if you're ever interested, it's important to know that not everything is weighted equally for yourself, right? You need to know what's relevant. And the only way to really know that is to know your personal chart. So we have another eclipse happening on March 3rd, and this is at 12 degrees of Virgo. So this is a lunar eclipse, which means it's a full moon. The sun's in Pisces, and the moon and south node are in Virgo. So this is happening in your 2nd, 8th house axis. So you guys might find that this eclipse has you kind of shifting in some of your priorities. I really see part of this eclipse as meant to be kind of healing, like, or releasing a lot of the Virgoan challenges, which tends to center around overthinking and anxiety and perfectionism and worry and just feeling like you're never doing enough or never going to be enough or know enough. So there's a lot of that kind of dialogue that can happen with Virgo. So if that's been going on, especially around your self-worth, your body image, your finances, your ability to be self-reliant versus having to depend on someone or something else to support you financially, I think that you'll find that this Virgo lunar eclipse might bring up some of those things, some of those questions or doubts, but it does bring them up for you to heal them and release them. So okay, let's go ahead and dive into the cards. Those are the major transits I wanted to discuss in quarter 1. It's a really big quarter, but yeah, let's go ahead and dive into the cards. So what to expect this quarter, already pulled that hyena card and spoke about some kind of definitive close of a chapter or the potential of some kind of betrayal or wounding to happen. I am definitely erring on the side of just a chapter closing for you. I'm not really getting like necessarily betrayal in this reading, but I just want to mention, just in case some of you guys experience that, we also have the Chariot and the King of Swords. So these two cards really speak to having very clear boundaries and a sense of direction. These have the energy of leadership. So if there's something in your life that you've been meaning to get clear on what your plan is, this can also speak to Saturn being in the ninth, where you start to focus more on the future, because the ninth has the future written all over it. It's the house of prophecy and divination, because that's the future, right? You're predicting something. There's this element of spirituality of the ninth, and then the element of the future. So I can see you guys getting more of a plan in order, and maybe being more decisive, clear again on your boundaries, your goals, what you're looking for. I can see you guys maybe using your words in clear ways. So if you need to kind of say no to somebody, or if you need to set a limit or make something more definitive, I see that happening for you, either within your relationships, within your work. It doesn't really matter, but I see you guys using that sort of discernment very powerfully in this first quarter. So that could look like cutting out the bad habits, bad foods, people that take away your energy, or things like that that just that detract from your goal. If you've been really wishy-washy, if you've been uncertain about something, or dabbling with something but not committing to it, if you have been unclear in your communication or boundaries with people and how they relate to your goals or interact or affect your goals, I see you guys getting really clear on all of that, especially with the Seven of Cups in reverse kind of being one of the major themes this quarter. This is about reducing your options and gaining more clarity by having things become really tangible. So that looks like, maybe putting money down for something and committing to it, putting it on your calendar, putting on your schedule. If you have a lot of ideas, writing them down in the journal and then setting those aside, or just prioritizing one or two of them. So there's this energy of like, let's get things into the physical reality. And then from that place, we can see how much capacity we have to manage, to upkeep, to grow these things in the physical world or not. Like, how much time do you really have? Do you have time for all these relationships that you want to have? Do you have time for all these projects, these hobbies, these interests, these travels? Okay, so let's actually look at that and see what time you have left. Anyway, I see a lot of clarity coming through, a lot of sense of purpose. In terms of relationships, we got the Lovers and the Four of Wands. This could potentially be linked to that Aquarius new moon. You guys may, new moon, which is aka solar eclipse on February 17th, you guys may find a love match with the Lovers and the Four of Wands. If you are not already in a relationship, this could be relevant for you. Maybe dating somebody new, finding somebody new. For those of you who are dating, this could be the elevation of that relationship into a new place. So maybe you guys get married, or you move in together, or you say that you love each other, or you commit to each other exclusively if you're not already. This could also speak to attracting the right kinds of partners into your life. So there's a really positive energy here around joyous celebration and connection with the people that you love. So I really feel like this is going to center around that Aquarius eclipse in that mid-February time. So whatever happens around now, if you have some instinct to reach out to somebody, or if you randomly meet somebody, don't brush that off as a random thought or coincidence. I would highly encourage you to pursue whatever this is, because this feels really significant. And if somebody's coming back into your life, or if they already are in your life, this is going to indicate that there is a potential lifelong connection here in whatever form of relationship this is. It doesn't have to be romantic. Of course, the Four of Wands is a marriage card, so I am thinking romance kind of predominantly, but it could be, if you're already married, it could be a really close friend, business partner, colleague, just somebody coming in that you're like, that is a person that's meant to be in my life. So those are some major events that are happening. Let's go ahead and talk about the advice and then the blessings that you're going to get this quarter. It definitely seems like love is on the mind. And with that eclipse in the 7th house, that makes a lot of sense. So blessings or advice, we have the 10 of Cups. This is your advice: lasting happiness, success, and divine blessings. So I do feel like the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in the 9th, it can take us through an existential crisis, but sometimes that could be that things become polluted, right? Where you're like, I was really optimistic before, and now this bad thing happened, and now I'm questioning it, and it pollutes the purity of how you initially perceive something, even if it's more accurate now. it is like more negative, right? But then we also have an existential crisis that could be a crisis that awakens faith, that brings more happiness, where you realize, like, this, look at everything that's changed, look at the things that I've lost. Why am I taking life so seriously? What if life is meant to feel good? What if life is meant to feel expansive? What if I can go through these things and it reprioritizes what really matters? And that's also a very ninth house experience as well, this kind of spiritual awakening of understanding the value of life and the little other things that might be stressful, realizing that those don't really matter as much. So your advice is the 10 of cups. So your advice is to embrace the positive, embrace pure bliss, embrace happiness. This could look like through that relationship coming in for you guys. If you are scared or worried at all about if you can trust this person or if you can rely on this person, this could be that paradigm shift with Saturn and Neptune together, where you are overriding maybe past wounds with relationships and you're turning over a new leaf. This could represent the 10 of Swords, where you once had relationships like X and now you're having them like Y, because you're clear on what you want, you're clear on your boundaries, you're clear on your direction and purpose. You will attract the relationships into your life that reflect and respect those boundaries and clarity. And if they challenge them, you can use your sort of discernment to say no, right? So the 10 of cups to me is you guys attracting a new kind of love that is going to allow you to come into a state of bliss. Even if you are in a marriage, this could look like a resurgence of a better, more connected relationship with that person. And it's really saying to enjoy the beauty and the blessings coming into your life at this time, and not question them, not worry about them being like something in the past. If you have had traumatic experiences in the past, that 10 of Swords really says that that is in the past, truly. And the things that you're encountering now, the people or the events that are happening now, are not going to take you back there. They are a new leaf. They are a new type of soul, new type of energy that is here to support you. And you can open your heart to let it all in and feel deeply and enjoy the pleasure of it without worrying about the other shoe dropping. So that felt like a very clear message for you guys. The other piece of advice, we have the Wheel of Fortune, the Temperance, and the Six of Swords in reverse. So I do feel like it's interesting because we have like the King of Swords and the Chariot, which did feel like you guys were kind of moving forward quickly because you were so clear on what you want and where you're going. But then your advice is to take things kind of slow. But there's more nuance to that. So let me clarify. So we have the Wheel of Fortune card first, which is interesting because it has your sign. It has all the fixed signs on it. So we have Leo and we have Aquarius. So this could really speak to your development, your relationship development, your career, your home, those major pillars in your life. This Wheel of Fortune card could be saying that there are major changes that are going to be happening this year to huge parts of your life. Maybe you change your physical body, maybe you move, maybe you get married or divorced, maybe you travel again or study or change something about your career, like major things. This Wheel of Fortune card is saying that this year is going to be the year for that. However, with the Temperance and the Six of Swords in reverse, I think that the universe really wants to encourage you to not rush the faded moments of these huge pillars of your career changing. Because if you try to rush getting married, buying a house, changing careers, meeting that person, if you feel pressure on it, I think you are going to act unnaturally with the divine timing and the season of things. So with the Temperance and the Six of Swords, I really feel like this is Spirit saying to just enjoy the moments of reprieve, the moments of wandering. With the Temperance, this is a very patient card. This is a card of moderation. It's a card of healing. So maybe there's still a lot that needs to catch up internally, or maybe there could be just a mismatch in general with the external and the internal world. So these cards really speak to just not being in a rush, allowing yourself to enjoy the journey and take things slow and find peace in the unfolding of these major events and allowing them to just happen when they're supposed to in their own fated timing. So that's your advice. So your blessings, we get the Eight of Swords in reverse. So first of all, I see you guys dramatically decreasing your anxiety. If you've been, again, really overthinking things, maybe that Saturn Neptune conjunction the ninth is speaking to you enjoying more of a healthy mindset. Maybe you're becoming more mentally or physically or emotionally resilient and not having to overthink things or worry about things too much. And this could be especially about romance and love, or about relationships in your life, like best friends or even family members, like really close people in your life. You could be realizing that you are meeting really good people, or that love is reigniting in troubled relationships, or that love is coming back from the past if you've had a bad an ending that felt unfinished. This could also signify a new love coming into your life, overflowing with love, something where you have a lot of love to give and love is coming to you. So it's saying you're not going to be anxious anymore because you're meeting a really good match for you. We also have the Knight of Wands and Queen of Wands. So I think that this will happen quite quickly. So that's why I was saying I see a lot of this energy moving fast, but the advice was to be patient and be slow. So it's like, I think things are moving fast, but you at times, like, there still could be maybe some worry, or maybe worry about other areas of your life. So if that's the case, I think to just be patient, but know that things will be moving quickly in your romantic life with the Knight of Wands and Queen of Wands. Things will be moving quickly in your creative life as well. So if you felt really stuck on something, like if you're trying to create something and you got some kind of block with that, like writer's block or creator's block of some sort, this is saying that that's going to be unbound and you're going to move forward very, very quickly. So the Knight of Wands, Queen of Wands definitely feels like you guys are growing in confidence in the things that you're doing. So if you are like an artist, for example, or musician, for example, this is you making songs and then feeling like, yeah, that actually sounds really good. Okay, I'm going to make like 10 more today. I just have the energy for that. Or this could be, again, someone approaching you in relationships and feeling like things are moving swiftly, but they're also feeling really good, right? Like you feel confident in the things that you're doing. You feel really seen by that person. That's a very Queen of Wands experience. You feel magnetic, appreciated. And I think you're going to be, if this is a love relationship, this could be a lot more like physical intimacy as well, and really enjoying that aspect of the relationship. So that's what I'm seeing for quarter one. Let's go ahead and dive into quarter two. All right, so quarter two, Leo rising and sun, we are looking at just a couple of major transits happening. First, on June 20th, we're having Chiron move into Aries, which is in your 10th house of career. This could be very good for helping you find more of your purpose. Chiron, I will say, is not the most pleasant type of asteroid to have a transit through in your career sector, but it is good in the sense that it helps clarify what your soul is here for, what you want to experience, what impact you want to make, what legacy you want to leave as a soul. So it can really help you identify that, but alongside it, it can also bring up potentially some insecurities or uncertainties around your career, some things that you need to heal, especially in relationship to comparison with society or other people your age. It could give some stressful dynamics to hierarchical relationships or relationships with authority or parents or bosses, or with institutions like a university. There can be just a need to heal one sense of authority or reputation as well. So if there have been insecurities from the past, it will potentially come back up now. Chiron is only in Taurus briefly until September 18th of this 2026 of this year, and then it will return in 2027. So the other thing that we're going to experience is the last day of this quarter, which is on June 20th. So second quarter, I should have mentioned from the beginning, is April through the end of June. So June 30th, the last transit is going to be Jupiter moving into the sign of Leo. Again, huge for you guys. Really, really big moment. I think it's setting you up for success in that third quarter. You might initially, you might feel the buildup though of getting to this point where you're like, I'm ready to break through. I'm ready to have this major growth moment because certain things maybe challenge you in certain ways. And then once Jupiter breaks through into Leo, I can see at the end of this quarter, I can see it really, again, preparing you for this kind of launch into the next quarter. So I asked Spirit, what are the major themes for you this quarter from April through June? And I got the Six of Wands, the Firefly card. It says, shining your inner light in a moment of glory. So Six of Wands often has to deal with some kind of success or some kind of accolades, getting appreciation, or feeling like you are on the up and up in some type of way. So again, if you are wanting some kind of like popularity to happen, Jupiter is a very social planet, and it can start to draw in people, relationships, opportunities, things that help you grow in your popularity. Also, it just started snowing outside here in Colorado, and it looks like it's like flurrying, and it's so beautiful and so magical. And so there's something about that there's something that might be quite magical about the Six of Wands, but it might not fully kick off until the next quarter. It is a theme of this quarter, so you're going to start to maybe plant the seed around it or see some of the initial energies, but it's possible that the biggest version of that Six of Wands, where you gain, again, some kind of like notoriety for something, might happen. Like there might be some initial thing that happens in this quarter through April through June, and then really start to gain traction in this following quarter when Jupiter is fully in your sign. So what else is happening? We have the Hierophant and the Page of Swords. Some of you guys could be deciding to learn something new. The Hierophant is usually like an education system, and the Page of Swords is a student. So there's something here around turning to a mentor, turning to a established way of doing something, or like to an authority figure who knows something, and learning from them in some capacity. The opposite could be true, where you are becoming the teacher. So it really depends on kind of where you're at in the journey. But a major theme this quarter is embarking on some kind of like learning route. Like I'll use myself for an example. Let's say I want to go into traditional publishing. I finished my book, let's just say. The Hierophant can represent the traditional publishing industry. Jesus Christ. And the Page of Swords could be me, the beginner. I'm just looking for a good agent. I'm looking for somebody who can guide me, who can mentor me, who can tell me, submit to X, Y. We're going to submit your book to X, Y, and Z publisher or whatever. So there's this feeling of like, I'm going to join this existing institution, and I'm going to be a student within this thing, and I'm going to learn how it operates. So there's something like that. You could join some kind of guild. You could join some kind of, if you work in like a trade, this could be you doing something with that, where like maybe you want to be a plumber. So you're going into professional training for that, and then you're kind of the learner in that space. So this can take on a ton of different forms. So apply it where it fits. The second half of this quarter might be a little bit challenging, or the second message is the Knight of Cups and the Tower in reverse. This could be challenging. If you did have some love interest in the last quarter, this could be something changing with that. That doesn't have to be bad, although the Tower does have a very scary depiction. It does embody the energy of a radical change, an overnight change. Typically, the Tower in reverse is something that you decide or initiate. So yeah, there could be something here that potentially is unexpected. If this Tower is more upright for you guys, like maybe something happens with that relationship and it falls through, or maybe you decide to walk away from it. Maybe there's something that you thought was really like one way, because the Knight of Cups can be quite deceiving, right? Maybe you thought something was going to be one way, or someone, and then it turns out to be another way. And so you decide to kind of make a radical change with whatever that thing is overnight. So like, let's say somebody comes in and they're like, I'm going to be the best business partner, and you guys really hit it off in the last quarter and you're getting along. And then all of a sudden you start to look at how they manage the people in your staff, and you're like, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel good. And then you start to see, oh, they position themselves as an expert in this or as a manager, and I'm seeing that they're not. And so now I'm just going to end this work dynamic, and it might cause a bit of upheaval in that process, but leaving, exiting, transitioning is going to be in the best interest. So there's something like that. It could be a person, it could be a commitment, it could be something that just, again, masqueraded as like a little bit more promising or charming or better off than it was. I kind of want to pull a clarifier because that doesn't feel like enough, but I will say for the blessings, we got the moon in reverse and the 3 of swords. So I do think that there's going to be some healing happening, maybe something troubling this quarter that, yeah. So let's just see, Spirit, any other clarifier for this Knight of Cups and Tower? Clarifiers for this Knight of Cups and Tower. Oh, that's weird. I heard it flip, but then it didn't. Okay. Clarifier. So we have the 8 of Swords in reverse. So to me, with this clarifying it, it almost feels like, ooh, that could have been bad, but it's like a narrow miss, right? Like you catch something just in time, or the truth is revealed in time, or you exit a situation before it could have been like bad. So there's something here about like escaping a potentially negative situation by you trusting your intuition or knowing when to leave or knowing when to say, this has got to go from my life. So that's one of the messages here. But I bet you there's so many people out there that there's going to be different scenarios. So let's see, anything, Spirit, for a different scenario for this Knight of Cups and Tower, if that doesn't resonate. We have the Temperance. Yeah, so maybe, let's see, another clarifier along with the Temperance. Queen of Swords. Yeah. I don't know. I just think whatever this is, these feel more advice oriented to me rather than clarifiers. But whatever this is, I think it's going to require you to have a clear no. You're going to need to know when something is crossing the line, when something's crossing a boundary, when something is adding a level of toxicity to your life or imperfection that doesn't need to be there. And with the Temperance, having the mindset of wanting, like, how do I say this? The Temperance to me is, well, I mean, it's to everyone. It's a card of patience. It's a card of healing. But in this context, it feels like you are willing to end something or cut something out of your life, even though it might initially feel like it sets you back on a timeline, but you're doing it because you know that that thing is not in your best interest long term, and you're implementing your willpower and your strength to be patient, to wait for the right person, the right opportunity, the right thing. So you're willing to cut something out. So let's say, for example, I guess we can get personal with it. Leo doesn't really apply to me since I'm not Leo, but I was dating somebody in my like 30s or whatever. And then I was like, I don't know if I want to marry this person. So in this scenario, I'm like, I did love that person a lot. So it wasn't that I didn't. Anyway, so I could have been like, well, I really love this person and I'm this old and I want kids and I want this. And so I'm going to just stay. Even if my intuition says like, maybe this isn't your life person. So that would be a scenario where you're not respecting the Temperance. The Temperance is being willing to burn it to the ground and start over, even if you already feel like this is going to take me so long to redo this. It's going to take me so long to rebuild this or to try this thing. This could even be like a not relational. It could be a creative project or something. You're like, I have to start over. I have to rewrite this whole book. It is going to take a lot of patience. This is going to take a lot of time, but it's going to be better because I'm doing it right from the beginning instead of trying to force something to feel right in my mind and my body and my soul that will eventually catch up with me in not feeling right. So that's what I'm seeing here. It could be anything, any kind of situation that requires some rebuilding, some conscious effort to start over. But I don't see that as a negative at all. So hopefully you guys are not taking it as a negative, and I hope you guys are entering into this quarter with an open mind, because sometimes things take little detours or take longer or take shorter, and it's so in our best interest, even though it could feel like, oh, really, I gotta do this all over again. Okay, so what is your advice? So we have the porcupine, quiet ferocity, storyteller, and ancestral wisdom. So maybe this could apply to me in the sense that, like I said, I'm a writer, and it could be rewriting a story, and this card says storytelling. So maybe some of you guys have something around that, writing or storytelling, if you're related, if you have similarities with me. But this is your advice. So there's something here about the storytelling that feels really significant, because the porcupine, obviously they have quills, right? And people used to write with quills. So there's something here around that where I feel like you guys maybe need to be aware of the stories that you're telling about something. Like I think that this can work on a lot of different levels. So on the most obvious, it's maybe you're writing a story. But for a lot of us, like, we all have stories in our head. Our memories are stories. Our retelling of those memories are stories. And how we frame something is relevant. So maybe there's something about the story and about your past that could be useful to reframe during this quarter. So with this being a porcupine, having all these like pokey quills, there's just something here around, and especially with the Five of Swords, because this is also a card of argument and defeat and conflict and feeling like you're winning, but at what cost, and people are walking away. So there's something about this where it's like, if this is your advice, I don't know. I wonder if there's a way of holding your power around something in the story that you tell around it. If you're having issues with people or conflict or stress from some circumstance or a person, this is you, I feel like, really making sure that you are, with that quiet ferocity, that you're holding your own. But I also think it's important how you frame the person, the situation, and the story around it. And to frame it in a way with the Queen of Wands that allows you to feel successful and confident and optimistic about yourself. So let's say, for example, that you did go through a breakup with this Nine of Cups and Tower in reverse. Maybe the story that you tell yourself is, oh my gosh, I'm so late to go through this breakup. Like, now I have to start all over, and I'm behind in life, and I'm telling myself this story that's making me really anxious, and then maybe I'm having conflict, inner conflict around it. It's like, what could I say to myself instead to have more confidence and see more of my potential, and tell a story that focuses more on what is gained than what is lost. So there's something around that where you might have conflict with people, but you should hold your own and reframe the story in a way that makes you feel empowered and confident, rather than allowing the issue with that person or whatever the stressor is to start to mean something about you, or mean something beyond just that circumstance. Because sometimes I think it's really helpful as a person to look for meaning in things, to have pattern recognition, to know when something is wrong or when something needs to change, because you'll start to see, okay, I always do that, and so that's a problem, I need to fix that. But what if this isn't that scenario? What if this is an opportunity for you to reframe more positively, to think about yourself more positively, rather than to like try to fault find? So anyway, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. Let's move on for that. So what's the blessing you get this quarter? So we have the Moon in reverse and Three of Swords upright. This could indicate that you guys are having some major healing this quarter. Maybe there are revelations that arise that are initially painful for you. With the Moon in reverse, often you can see things or people really clearly. That's what I was saying with the Knight of Cups and the Tower in reverse. There's something of like, I saw someone this way, and now I don't like see them that way. Like they presented themselves in a certain way or a situation did, and then you're like, it's actually not like that at all. So I can see you guys having these clarity and revelations that may initially prove to be painful, but I can see you guys really healing from them a lot. So I think that one of the blessings this quarter is the blessing of getting out of a situation that wasn't 100% maybe truthful. And so, yeah, there's something here. It's interesting because I did say last quarter there could be whoever that person is could be like your person. So this could be, I mean, this could potentially be that maybe you thought they were your person and they end up not, or maybe this is something else where it's a totally different situation or totally different relationship that disappoints you and lets you down. And then you're like, oh, now I have to rebuild from this. But again, I think it's such a blessing that you are leaving and rebuilding or whatever your changes you're making, because it is going to help you a lot in the long term. I also see the Four of Cups in reverse and the King of Wands upright. So I feel like whatever the situation was is going to give you a lot more engagement with life. If you have been previously like saying no to things, if you've been feeling uninspired, if you have been not going out with your friends or going on trips, if you've been really busy and not in this kind of extroverted type of mindset, or maybe you don't have lots of creative ideas or whatever. If any of that has been the case, I see you guys coming out of that and starting to have a lot of options. Like if you do go through a breakup, maybe there's a bunch of people that are interested in dating you next, or maybe you have a lot of options of like what plans you want to make. Like people invite you on a trip or people invite you to go grab a beer or whatever. And it's like, oh, I have all these things that are actually inspiring to me that I can now put my energy into because I'm no longer focused on this thing that was hurting me. So again, there could be some deceptive situation or something that seemed promising at first and isn't. And then once that's revealed, it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm actually healing because of my ability to be honest with myself about this thing. And now I have like all this extra energy and all this zest for life and all these opportunities and all these ideas. So now I can go put my energy into that. That's kind of what I'm seeing here. Let me get some more clarifiers on the Three of Swords because it's coming out as a blessing. So Three of Swords is usually heartache and emotional pain, but if it's coming out as a blessing, it really feels like you maybe avoided having the heartache, or yeah, so it's like maybe you get a little bit of heartache by realizing, okay, I got to redo this thing, or I got to change this foundation of this thing, or end this relationship, or whatever it's involving. So it could be like that, but it could also be that you, sorry, I forgot what I was saying there. Okay, so but yeah, I was basically just saying it could be like that, and that might have a little bit of like heartache in it, but it's way less than it would have been if you continued down that path. Any clarifier for the Three of Swords spirit? What exactly is this Three of Swords going to feel like for them? So we have the Nine of Wands. So a Nine of Wands is feeling like you're really pushing something uphill. So this to me, it doesn't have to be a relationship at all. The Knight of Cups could be anything that you are like really a goal, an ideal, something that you just imagine would be this like perfect thing. Maybe it felt like you were pushing a ball up a hill. Maybe it felt like it took all of your tenacity and perseverance to keep it going, to keep it good. But there's something here where it's like, I feel that it's going to allow you to change what isn't flowing, or remove the bottleneck, or remove the thing that causes resistance, so that the process can unfold a lot smoother, and so that you can avoid the pain and heartache and struggle of trying to make something work that is somewhat not working for whatever reason. So if this is a relationship, maybe this is you in couples counseling and you're trying to make it work and you're trying to fix it and this and that, and then you're like, actually, you read a text message and you're like, that person is flirting with somebody else. They've been lying to me. They've been deceiving me. I'm going to end this. And then once you end it, it's like this relief almost of like, now I don't have to work so hard to force something that isn't working. And this is just an example, but it could apply to, again, projects and things like that as well. Of like, now I can just rewrite the book and it can be a different premise and things can change and it doesn't have to be difficult anymore. And I get to re-engage now with a lot more energy because I'm not forcing an existing idea that I had to work. I'm allowing myself to approach it from a new perspective. And that's what the Tower in reverse speaks to, is usually something that you are changing from your own accord. So I'm realizing that this topic from my book idea isn't working. This relationship isn't working. I'm leaving. I'm changing the book. I'm rewriting. Something like that. So I know I'm kind of focusing a lot on that, but it is such a big energy that I need to make sure that that's clear. So hopefully that looks good for you guys, or is clear for you guys. Feels positive, even though that, again, these cards are kind of scary. It's not giving me like a really negative energy. So I'm guessing that whatever the situation is, it might be important to us, but it's not going to like kick us on our butt for the quarter. So that's what I see for you, Leo, for the second quarter. Let's go ahead and dive into the third, which is going to be July through September. All right, so quarter three for my Leos is looking a little bit interesting, dynamic, and it might be somewhat challenging, but also some like really positive. So again, very dynamic energy happening from July through September. We are going to start off with July 20th. We're having a Jupiter-Pluto opposition. So we're having Jupiter and Leo in your first, opposite Pluto in your seventh. Yeah, I mean, this kind of really relates to some of the cards that I pulled. I got the Three of Cups in reverse, and to clarify, the Justice in reverse. To me, this indicates that there might be something unfair going on within your relationship dynamics, and you might need to stand up for yourself at this time, or you might need to push back or make changes depending on the best way to react to this lack of fairness in some situation. So maybe there is something where everyone was invited to a party but you, and you're like, well, that's not fair. Or maybe you felt like you deserved some award or something that went to somebody else, and you're like, wait, that's not fair. Or maybe something, I don't know, anything, but it's likely with a group of people or involving multiple people. So there's something here where you plus others, there's an unfair event happening, and you're going to again have to deal with that in whatever way you think is best. So that is very common with Jupiter opposite Pluto, is this need to kind of like push past something, because Pluto usually requires force, because Pluto in the seventh is where other people might try to control something, control the narrative, control the resources, control whatever. And then you with Jupiter in the first have to collect your like, I don't know, you have to kind of have the integrity almost in a situation, but also try to not fall prey to other people's control. So there's something about that where it's like, am I in integrity? Yes. Okay, that's step one. And then what's step two, right? You don't want to be taken advantage of just because you're the only one living in integrity around something. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways that this can manifest, but I see you guys pushing back against something where it might be unfair with someone else. Then on the 27th, we are having the North Node move into the sign opposite you. So on the 27th, we're going to have North Node in your 7th house and South Node in your 1st house. This is going to indicate a major chapter for the next 2.5 years that is revolving around you growing in your relationships and also making major changes in your self-concept. So things that you held on to really tightly might be asked to let go of. Health issues that have been long-standing could, or like bad habits that have been long-standing could produce health issues that you need to change your habits for to manage. If you've had existing debt or habits or just anything, like with Leo being your 1st house, it could be anything about you. If there's something that's going on in your life that's been repetitive, that you've been holding on to, but it's just old, it's time for that to leave with the South Node in your sign. Again, this is a 2.5 year journey, but it is indicating a need to say au revoir. That's not for me anymore. So I've had the South Node be moving through my 1st house the last 2 years. So I'm very familiar with this. And obviously, I feel like I've had a lot of kind of South Node moments in my life because my sun is conjunct the South Node. But yeah, I mean, there's been elements of like starting fresh and like having things come and things go in my life in a bigger way, I think, these last few years than in previous ones. So that might be similar to you, where you're like really releasing things that you are realizing are outdated in your life. North Node in the 12th in the 7th is representative of potentially attracting some really good relationships into your life, or having learning experiences around those relationships where you are recognizing that the way that you've operated with people before, what you're looking for in people, is not working. So it may ask you to change the way you show up to commitments with people. Then we have the Leo solar eclipse on August 12th. That is obviously a really big deal for you guys since you are Leo rising or sun. So if you have your sun or rising sign around 20 degrees of Leo, then you're going to feel this the most. It's going to be a solar eclipse, which is a new moon on that at 20 degrees of Leo. So on whatever planet or point is there. And this is a time in which I feel like you guys are going to have some major wins, because part of your blessings, I got the Knight of Swords and Six of Wands. So if you guys have been trying to set yourself up for some type of movement or success with something, then this is going to happen now, because we got the Knight of Swords and the Six of Wands. So before, where you wanted some kind of like accolade or whatever, Six of Wands has come up for you multiple times. But I really see that happening for you now. So it's like, okay, if you want to grow your social media platform, that would indicate that. If you want to get a certain kind of job, that would indicate the successful achievement of that. If you want to reach a certain milestone within your relationship, within your finances, within your health, that could be you reaching that and doing so with the Knight of Swords in a really quick fashion, not having anything standing in your way. So this eclipse, again, eclipses generate a ton of energy and they can change things overnight. So I could see something about this energy be, again, very dynamic, instant success with something, or getting the answer for something, or having, like, if you wanted to move and you wanted to buy that house, this is saying, yes, okay, you've been approved for that loan, or the person has chosen you to buy the house out of all these offers. Stuff like that, where you have kind of like this instant overnight change, but also not, because obviously it took a lot to get to that point. And then it also will still be like, there's still work after that point, but there is this kind of turning point of some sort where something clicks, an idea, a choice, again, a recognition, an opportunity, something like that is going to accelerate your pace from here on out. And that's what this new moon to me is indicating. Something new coming into your life that you want, that is going to accelerate the pace of your life. Let me just see if there's anything else I'm missing about this new moon. Yeah, I think it has a lot of longevity to it. So whatever it is, it could be some kind of good news, especially with Jupiter conjunct Mercury. And with it making a trine to Saturn, it has longevity to it. So very, very positive. We also have another eclipse happening on the 28th of August, which is going to be a Pisces lunar eclipse. A lunar eclipse is always a full moon. So that's at 4 degrees of Pisces. So this is going to be in your second 8th house axis. So this eclipse, I think, is a little bit odd. It is making a square to Uranus almost exactly. So I do think that we can expect people and situations to be very erratic, unpredictable, things to develop really, really quickly, or for us to make huge pivots or changes at a moment's notice. With the moon in particular being in the 8th house, so this eclipse is primarily in the 8th, but obviously the sun is in the 2nd, so that's important too. There could be some kind of overnight change in some way that is not foreseen at this point in time. The 8th house is often related to relationships and intimacy, so there could be some sudden change in that regard. People acting strange, a secret being revealed, something that wasn't shared about somebody or something coming to light. That's possible. It could also be that you suddenly get an inheritance or some kind of loan or some kind of financial help to move something forward in your life. And it might be unexpected or have some swiftness to it. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I think that can be. So people in general with this Uranus in the 11th, people are going to play a really big role in this eclipse. So people acting differently, people acting strangely, people giving you an opportunity, people telling you some news, something like that is going to happen. And then it's kind of just deciding how how am I going to move forward with this? Because it doesn't have to be negative, right? There's a lot of ways that this can take shape. So anything about this eclipse in particular, Spirit. So we have the Sun card. Yeah. Anything else about this eclipse, Spirit, this Pisces lunar eclipse on August 27th? Anything about this, Spirit? And the Eight of Swords in reverse. Yeah, I think that you guys are going to be able to really see the horizon on something. So like with this Eight of Swords in reverse and the Sun, I think you guys are going to be, and this makes sense, we're an eighth house moon. The eighth house can be indicative of like fears and insecurities and worries and uncertainties and just being really anxious about something and feeling like, oh, maybe I can't do this. This Pisces eclipse in this house can indicate major healing. And with that square to Uranus in the 11th, maybe it's an online community. Maybe it's a friend group. Maybe it's somebody finally saying something important that helps you break free from this pattern of worry or uncertainty or doubt. And I think that you guys are going to have a lot more faith in yourself and in life. I can see you being more optimistic, clear on what you want and where you're going. I just think that you're going to clear away a lot of maybe other people's opinions or unhealthy thoughts, things like that that could get in your way. Usually Pisces lunar eclipses tend to be very emotionally healing, but again, people play a really big role in that. So listen out for the advice, the clarity, the things that other people are going to share with you at this time. Okay. So let's go ahead and dive into the cards that I'm seeing. So we already talked about the blessings, getting some kind of recognition and support and things moving really quickly forward. And I also see another blessing is the Page of Swords, Page of Pentacles. I think that you're going to be trying something new. So maybe you guys like have success with something and it allows you to branch out or go down a different path of some sort. That is something new. It could be unrelated to what you're doing, but I see the development of a new project, a new idea, something new that you're learning, something new that you are interested in. So it could be anything. It could be a hobby, a career interest. It could be a relationship. But yeah, it's something that I feel like you're clearing up. You're reaching a milestone in your career success, or maybe not just career success, but usually Six of Wands, I think career, but it has something to do with popularity. So you're reaching some kind of milestone within your popularity, and I associate that with like online virality. But if that doesn't relate, then apply it to whatever popularity you would like to have. And then the Page of Swords represents that, okay, now that I've done this, maybe I could have like this spin-off, or I could start this other channel online, or this other account, or I could do this thing and it would help me grow in this way. So it's like giving you more seeds and opportunities to try other things that are beyond the normal scope of what you do. So those are the blessings for this quarter. Let's talk about what else you can expect based off of the tarot cards I pulled. So I got the Five of Cups, the manatee, and it says loss, hidden solutions, better times ahead. And then we have the Two of Wands in reverse. And to me, this is like there was some kind of plan that didn't work out. That's what this means to me. So there may be some plans that go awry during this quarter. Maybe with that Jupiter opposite Pluto, you expected something and then someone else reacted in another way. Yeah, something like this of like, oh, I was going to go on that trip and I was going to, I don't know, this person promised me this money, or this thing was supposed to happen and then it all got canceled. They let me down. They disappointed me. So there's something here around like I had a plan, I had a vision of something, and then it just didn't happen for whatever reason. So part of what this quarter is saying is that you may have like little detours like that, divine interventions that prevent certain things from moving forward that may not be in your interest long term, or just aren't supposed to be here for whatever reason or another. It could involve somebody else potentially. It doesn't have to. Yeah, Two of Swords. I think it could bring you into a place of needing to make a decision then from like for how to move forward. So if somebody, and you might feel uncertain about that. Any other thing about this planned Spirit that doesn't go according to plan? The Five of Pentacles. Yeah, I definitely feel like you're going to be maybe feeling like you thought something was going to happen financially and then it doesn't, or like oh, I'm going to get that loan and then it doesn't happen. But then we saw that something really good does happen for you during that eclipse. So it may be that this situation turns around. Or it could be that something else comes through and it doesn't even have to be the same area of your life, but there is a distinct message of something not going according to plan and disappointing you, and then leaving you maybe feeling rejected in some way. Like if this is a person left out in the cold, if this is finances, maybe feeling scarce or a lack. And then the Two of Swords is like, okay, now how do I move forward from here? I don't know. I don't know what my plan is. Like that was my plan and now it's not working. So now what? So I see that kind of energy as being a part of this quarter, but we also saw those successes. So that's why I'm like, either the situation turns around or you create a new plan or something clicks, or again, there's maybe a success in one area of your life and something not going according to plan in another area of life. So all those things are potentials for you guys. What area of life does this plan pertain to, Spirit, that's going awry? What area of life is this plan related to? What area of life? So we have the Hierophant. So something, didn't we get that in the last thing where I was like, I see you maybe studying something, or like I used the idea of like going in traditional publishing for me. Like there is this traditional institution. You're like, I'm going to start off on this thing and I hope it goes well. This could speak to that thing that I think that was last quarter, that you're like, okay, I'm going to do that thing. I'm going to go into this new institution. I'm going to learn this thing. I'm going to get this mentor and advice. And then maybe this quarter, it doesn't work with the Hierophant. Maybe you're like, okay, I'm going to be traditionally published, and then you get an agent, or maybe you don't get an agent, but then you submit it and then it gets rejected. So this is just an example that pertains to my situation that I'm talking about, but it could be literally anything. So maybe you decide, okay, I'm going to go down this particular path. This is like my long-term plan. This is my goal. I'm going to study this thing. I'm going to go to this trade school. I'm going to study under this person. And then it will open up this opportunity for me, this internship. For some reason, internship keeps coming through. Maybe you think I'll start off with this, like, I'll start off working for free to be able to get in this industry, get a foot in the door, and then get an opportunity. And then they're going to give me the next thing when they see how good I am. And then it's like, you do that and then they don't, right? They're like, actually, we don't really need to hire somebody new. So there's something like that going on where you think you're joining a part of something, and maybe initially you're in it and it's working, and then there is a longer plan that you devise once you're in that institution, and the plan doesn't pan out in the way that you think it will. So this could potentially relate to somebody else, because I pulled the King of Wands and Queen of Wands next. So this could relate to that. Like that works really well in my example in terms of having like a mentor or an agent. So it's like, this person is going to be the answer to all my prayers. But then the plan doesn't work out. It may or may not be that person's fault. Like it could be something outside of them that is not determined by them at all. And in that case, I could still see you guys like staying together, working together in some capacity if it's mutually beneficial. So any clarification, Spirit, on these two? Yeah, I do think that there is a prosperous union here between two people. With the Queen of Pentacles describing this King and Queen of Wands, you might pair up with somebody at this time, or it could be that existing mentor from the previous quarter. But there's someone here that it's really going to be the yin to your yang. I think they could provide some kind of career or financial opportunities for you at some point, or they could build a life together. So there's something here around having some kind of equal match, someone who's really, they get you and they get your mission, they get your ideas, they get your desires, and they're really on the same page with you. So there's something about that. And again, you could build some kind of like foundational or resources together. I just mean like maybe you make money together of some sort. So there's something with that. And I feel like maybe the message here, is there advice, Spirit, on this? So maybe that could be the Three of Cups in reverse. Like let's just use the agent thing, because that's the easiest thing for me to conceptualize right now. But let's say you do want to publish a book. So you go in with this agent. It's a perfect match, you and that person, and you're pitching it and you're like, I really think this could work. And then it turns, and you make this whole plan around this publisher accepting your work, and then they say no. And it's like, aw, and then you're let down. You're like, oh, this thing I was going to celebrate, this thing I was excited about that involved other people, aka these publishers, I got rejected, and it feels unfair, and it feels like I put all this work in for nothing, and this disappointment ensues. And I can really see that, you guys, part of your advice at this time with the Three of Swords and Hangman in reverse is to change your perspective on the rejection or the thing not going according to plan. You really, really need to embody the mindset of duality with this Two of Pentacles, seeing things from multiple angles, having realizing that there's other ways to go about your goal or to get your desired outcome, or there might be other timelines and things at play. Being able to hold multiple truths at once. Like, my book can be good and I could also get rejected. I can be lovable and I can also get uninvited to the social event. Like, viewing the situation differently is part of your advice this quarter. And also, of course, with the Two of Pentacles, part of your advice is to be able to keep working and keep moving forward. The Two of Pentacles is somebody juggling lots of things. So maybe there are adjustments and things that you can make to your plans in order for them to be successful in the future, but you still need to keep up with your existing responsibilities and whatnot. So this is also a sign of like juggling and not letting any of the balls drop. Don't just give up on this path just because the plan doesn't work. There are other ways to go about it, other perspectives and viewpoints that you can have to give you new insight on a different way to approach the same situation. But again, still managing your existing responsibilities while trying to finagle those changes to get the desired outcome. So what else is your advice for this quarter? We have the Nine of Pentacles, heaven on earth, independence and expansive thinking, and then the Queen of Cups. Yeah, I really feel like you guys, I mean, I do see some kind of partnership here, and that may still be in the cards for you guys to have some strong partnership here. Even if there is some relationship stuff or some things that might not go well, the partnership could still remain strong. So even though we have the Nine of Pentacles, I do see the partnership, but the Nine of Pentacles is typically, especially coming in as advice, is typically a card that speaks to independence and being on your own. So this could be, in this example, for example, this could be, okay, I'm not going to do the traditional route that I thought I was going to go. I'm going to try to make this work on my own of some sort. Though, again, I do see something with this partnership that is still relevant and important and may come back later. You may need to focus more on like, what can I do right now for myself in the situation? How can I make the best choices for myself? Even if there's this traditional institution that doesn't quite fit for me right now, like how can I still, like maybe I have some issues at this, I don't know, maybe my mentor is good, but there's something about the schooling that's not going well. There's something like that where it's like, maybe I could still work with this person later, but then also work for myself. So I don't really know how to describe this and totally, but this could be like, oh, I'm going to publish independently, or I'm going to work on writing that's my own on the side, and then later try to work with this agent on this other book. So something like that, where it's like, realize where you can do something on your own and where you don't have to be reliant on someone else. And there is places where you may be reliant. So just do what you can on your own. And then it's also talking about expansive thinking. And then we have the Queen of Cups. So part of your advice is also to think positively, really. The Queen of Cups is someone who's really intuitive, someone who's guided by that intuition. They're trusting their instincts with people, with ideas, with things that they want to say yes or no to. So this is you really leaning into how your emotions are telling you, like, this is a yes, this is a no. Move towards this. Don't do that. Maybe you're feeling more creatively inspired at this time. But yeah, there's something here where it's like, lead with your heart first, not with your mind necessarily, because I think that your mind needs to expand its perception on these events that have happened. So lead with your heart, and then the mind will catch up. The last set of cards that we have that is speaking more to what's happening this quarter is Ace of Cups, Six of Cups, Wheel of Fortune. This was kind of like off to the side, so this feels like an ancillary message, but there's something here where I feel like you guys just need to know that something around this is going to pull through, even if it's not this quarter. So that's kind of what I feel like this is happening with. Maybe you get some kind of rejection, but it is divine protection, and then it works out again later down the line. So just keep that in mind, that you might go into something thinking, oh, I'm going to get this like traditional label deal with my music, and it's going to be really amazing. And maybe you find like a music mentor or an agent or whatever you call them, and then they listen to your demo and you're like, oh my God, this is gonna be so good. And then something goes wrong with that. It's like, keep going, because maybe you can make music independently. And then at some point later, that relationship that you made with that person could be really significant. And maybe something will pay off later down the line in a slightly different capacity than you originally intended, but still in the same vein. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Leo. I know that that's a little bit disappointing maybe for this quarter, but I do want to be honest with you guys about what I'm seeing. And I also see some really positive things as well. Remember with that, that Leo solar eclipse, and then we have the Knight of Swords and Six of Wands. So I am seeing you gain some kind of like popularity or success with something, but I just also think something else is not going according to plan. And that tends to be life, right? We kind of have a mixed bag, and it's more about what we make of it. And that's what I think the Three of Swords and Hangman is speaking about. How can we make something beautiful out of this? How can we take this grief and turn it into art? Or how can we take this rejection and make it fuel for our next endeavor, or a different approach to the same endeavor to make us successful? It's like often life is about iterations rather than about these immediate successes. So I hope that you really take this and make the most out of it. So let's go ahead and dive into quarter 4, which is going to be October through December to finish out your 2026. All right, and up next, quarter 4, we have July through September. The only major thing I want to talk about is Venus retrograding from 8 degrees of Scorpio to 22 Libra. This is going to retrograde in your 4th and 3rd house. So generally when Venus retrogrades, we can have a time where we are reflecting on our relationships, our patterns within our relationships, especially for you guys within your family. If you are a Leo rising, this is in your 4th, and that's the house of the family. So maybe your dynamics with your loved ones are things that you are calling into question or reconsidering or wanting to reprioritize in some way. Maybe there are shifting dynamics or emotions from the past that come back up that need to be addressed with people. Maybe certain boundaries or issues that have been going on that you need to put into place, the boundaries put into place, or resolve the issues. And then also when Venus retrogrades in the 3rd, this can, especially when it's in Libra, this can be quite social. So maybe you're reflecting on how busy you are and how often you're saying yes to things and how social you are. And if you're giving yourself enough time to rest, if you're giving yourself enough time to reflect, this Venus retrograde could have you potentially slow down a little bit, or maybe you are engaging with things more so like outside of this Venus retrograde period. Because part of the blessings that I got for you was the Hermit, the Four of Cups, and Temperance. These are all cards that help you reflect internally. And let's just, I'm gonna hold up one at a time. The Hermit is a card where you're reflecting internally. You're pausing, you're being introspective, you're resting, and you're reflecting on like, what do I want in this next year? What do I want out of my family? How do I want to feel rested? Do I feel financially secure? That's a good question that comes up during Venus retrograde. Do I feel secure in my home environment? Am I too busy? Do I have too much going on with myself or with others? And learning how to prioritize yourself, learning how to say no with the Four of Cups, even if the thing seems fun. You don't always have to go. And I do see you socializing. I do see you saying yes, but I do think that there are times that you say no, that you actually get a lot more out of saying no than going. So part of your biggest blessing is like healing and resting and trying to take things slow with this Temperance card. That's not the entire quarter's energy, but that is one of the biggest blessings that you will get out of this quarter is when you do rest. I think you will understand and reflect a lot more on like yourself and your life, and it will give you a chance to recharge in a way that is aligning you with your soul. So it's a lot more than just I feel rested physically, but it's okay, I was able to really assess if these current approaches to my life are working for me. And Venus retrograde especially is where we think in particular about romantic and financial values and priorities, not just romantic, but like relational, I should say, love, any kind of relationship. That could be your children as well. So something along those lines, you are maybe wanting to reprioritize and juggle things in a different way, and to have this time to rest and reflect is going to give you the best possible outcome. So that's one of your blessings this year or this quarter. What else can you expect from this quarter? So we start off with the Raccoon, which is a Page of Wands, enthusiasm, free spirit, and new ideas. So this is the theme of what to expect this quarter. So you might find that you really rest and reflect, and then it kind of kicks you off into a new you know, like a new drive, right? A new energy where you're like, okay, I have this desire for more. I want to expand in this way, and I have all of these ideas. So you might find that this is a time where you have um, like the opportunity of travel or of doing something that feels like it's new with the Page of Wands, or adding on, yeah, adding on. Okay, that's weird. Um, Yeah, I almost feel like with the Page of Wands next to Ten of Wands, maybe you are releasing something. So maybe something gets really heavy, right? This quarter, especially with Venus retrograde, you're like, I don't need to do all these tasks. I don't need to do all of these things, right? Maybe I can get a house cleaner. Maybe I can say no to that social activity or that job, and I can reduce my commitments. So something about the Page of Wands and then to Ten of Wands, I feels like you are realizing that something during this Venus retrograde in particular, you're realizing that something is feeling heavy or feeling like too much responsibility. And so you're freeing yourself from that responsibility and reprioritizing in a way that I think is going to feel light. And then with the Queen of Pentacles, I think that you're managing your home life really well because of this. Again, this is likely going to bring up a lot of issues around like home and family and money that I talked about, but I think you're getting them all sorted after Venus goes direct. And then in particular, when Venus surpasses its original turning point, which is 8 degrees, where it turns to go retrograde at 8 degrees of Scorpio, it's going to go backwards. And then once it passes 8 Scorpio is when we're going to finally feel like we've kind of integrated everything and got that all in order. So that's going to be really like right before the new year when this is happening. I also think that if you've had family issues in your relationships, like issues in your family relationships with the Lovers card followed by the Queen of Pentacles, I see that really resolving itself and you guys coming back together and feeling closer. So like let's say you haven't talked to your family in a while, or you feel disconnected, or you had a fight with them. This Queen of Pentacles and Lovers is saying, especially with the Ten of Wands, you are putting down the stress. So if you've had issues with family, if you've had issues going on emotionally, or again with your security, maybe you've been doing too much, spread too thin, you're not present with your family members, you're not feeling as centered in yourself. This is a quarter to rest, to reconnect with the people that you love, to reprioritize your life, to put down things that are burdening you, to feel lighter, to feel freer, to enjoy more of the ability to like wake up and maybe have free time and not like have everything planned or have all these expectations. There's this sense of like spaciousness that I think you're creating as a result of Venus going retrograde. With the Hanged One, I can really see you guys maybe releasing certain expectations that you have of yourself or others that was imposing a feeling of strictness. The Hanged Man can represent being able to let something go, especially when it's upside down, not getting stuck on something. So if there's been issues in the past, I could see you when Venus goes direct right before the new year, being able to fully move on from them, fully release them, not get like trapped in any kind of cycle with people. So that's really positive. I also see the Three of Cups and the Three of Wands. So definitely a lot going on with threes here. Maybe you and two friends going on a trip together, celebrating something that has gone successfully for you. This is often branching out into new horizons, maybe meeting new people. This could be you traveling with people that you really want to travel with. There is some element of like a social gathering or a celebratory energy, or feeling really hopeful and expansive about what's next and the people in your life surrounding you. So again, this could be more so like how you're entering into 2027, where you've had the last quarter to maybe chill out a bit, slow down a bit, and then you are renewed. You have this renewed vigor, maybe like some kind of opportunity coming your way where you're like, okay, I can say yes to this thing and I can try that. And you see like you making plans for the future of the things that you're excited about adding into your life after you've removed the things that feel heavy. Your advice for this quarter, we have the Cricket, serendipity, moral compass, and liberty. Interesting. I'm going to come back to that, but there's something about the Cricket that stands out to me in the fact that they jump and in the fact that they sing. So there might be something around that, and I'll come back to that. So your advice, Eight of Swords, Knight of Pentacles, Knight of Cups. So Part of your advice, I mean, with the Eight of Swords, this is a card of self-limiting beliefs, you being anxious, not moving forward because you feel so anxious about something and not sure how it's going to work. So this, to me, this is an advice period. So it's almost like allow yourself to sit in the things that you feel uncertain about. With Venus retrograde, it's good to analyze what's working and what isn't. If you are trying to like always have positive mindset and never think about the negative, it can override your instinct to fix a problem in your life that's stressing you out. You don't want to just try to turn everything into a positive when you can fix the negative. So there is something around that I think that you can like make this leap with the cricket. There's something about this where he's walking, and then all of a sudden he leaps into the air and just flies into a totally new space. So there's something about this of like you're trudging through something with this 10 of wands. Something isn't working. Maybe something isn't sustainable. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you're having a long-standing issue with a family member or someone else that's just going on. And it's like, actually, if you sit long enough with the problem and what's stressing you out about it, you can find a solution to immediately remove yourself from that problem. So the cricket is like, I'm going to literally jump into a new paradigm instead of trying to sit here and make this one feel better than it does and lie to myself about that. There's also something about singing here. So the crickets are always making their noise. So there might be something about really active communication, you know, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, like not just allowing things to pass, but actually speaking them into existence or addressing an issue, trying to resolve something with your voice, ask for something that you need, something like that. With the cricket here, it's like, don't be idle in your communication and expressing your desires. We also have Knight of Pentacles and Knight of Cups. If you are in a romantic relationship, part of your advice is to move slowly with that person, not try to accelerate or push things beyond their natural limit. Allow things to take time. If you are busy and you have opposite schedules, if you have a lot going on and you need to reflect more on your personal life, on what you need to cut out, this could be you not focusing as much on relationships. Not that you're not focusing on it, but just that you are really, really focusing on your family and your inner world and what you need right now. And if this is like a dating life or something, that's like, I'm not going to put so much outward focus. Like, I need to get clear on what my priorities are. I need to clear up my money or my family dynamics or how I balance things. And if I try to focus so much on like how other people are doing or what they want, or then it can take too much of the energy away from what is needed to fix something in your life right now. So the Knight of Pentacles and Knight of Cups to me is saying move forward slowly on something like that. The Knight of Cups could speak to not just a romantic interest, but it could speak to a creative project. It could speak to any kind of relationship or thing that you are interested in that feels like it's more so bringing you like a sense of pleasure and joy. It doesn't have to be a serious commitment, right? But something with the Knight of Pentacles is like, just take it slow, take it easy. If you're working on something that's important to you, or if you're getting to know someone new, or if there's something like that, take it slow, take it easy. The Venus retrograde can bring up lovers from our past. So that is a possibility. So, or relationship issues from our past. So you might have to work through some of those things. And the message here is to be patient with it, because often it won't be until Venus goes direct, and even sometimes till Venus surpasses the point in the middle of December where she was when she went retrograde, where we finally feel like we have movement in the issues that we have with someone. So maybe we just can't get someone to see our point of view, or we want to end something with someone or change something with someone, but it's just not clicking for one of us or both of us. And then when Venus goes direct, or when Venus surpasses that 8-degree mark in the middle of December, is when we actually feel like that goes through for us, like we get on the same page. So yeah, there's something here like on working on a project or relationships that are important to you, that you just need to be slow and steady with. You don't need to rush it or force it or push it, because it is going to, like, it needs time to unfold. It's like almost like if something needs to simmer and like become aromatic, like it needs time to kind of sit and for all the juices to like mix together, and that requires time not messing with something kind of thing, you know, like when you're cooking. So something along those lines is like trying to get ahead of it and force it to be faster than it is actually going to not allow the right ideas, mindsets, emotions, and things to click into place for the necessary outcome to be achieved. So that's really what I see for you for this last quarter. So I'm going to wrap up by asking you guys to ask me a question. Well, ask the cards a question, and I will be pulling a card in response. So it could be related to timing, something that you want. If you're worried about something, anything like that, go ahead and ask your question. And I'm just going to pull one of these Angel Oracle cards. Abundance on the bottom of the deck. That's really positive. But Spirit, what's the answer to my Leo's questions? What's the answer to my Leo rising and sun question? What's the answer to their question? I just saw yes flipped the right side up. I don't know why. So the answer could be yes for some of you. I'm going to flip that back. Anything else about the answer to their question? We have no need to worry. And it's interesting because I said if you're worried about something, it says no need to worry. So some of you guys, if you're looking for a yes or no, the answer is a yes. And for others of you who are worried about something, it says don't worry. Everything is going to turn out in a way that is going to be positive for you. Okay, so I do think I want to pull like a couple more cards here. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to wrap up there. Or, sorry, I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. Okay, yeah. Let's just wrap up there. King of Wands, bottom of the deck. I guess that's what we'll end on. Very creative, confident spirit this year. I see you guys really being able to be in the driver's seat in your life. If there's something that you want, I can see you making it happen. I can see you getting maybe more popularity. A lot of complexities to this year. But with Jupiter in your sign, it's your time to embrace life, to say yes to new opportunities and people and things, and to challenge yourself to grow. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Leo. If this is helpful or resonates, let me know in the comments down below. I am trying to double my channel this year to 12,000 subscribers. If you want to be a part of that journey and offer support to me in some way, I would really, really appreciate it. The best way to do that is to comment, because I love to interact with you guys, see how it applies, and obviously the engagement is helpful for me as well on my channel. If you want to engage in another way, you can like the video, you can hype the video, you can share the video with a friend, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I hope that you guys have a beautiful 2026. Bye.